This audio recording is intended to facilitate the gradual release of confidential documents pertaining to a top-secret exchange program where 12 U.S. military personnel went to the planet Serpo, which was located in the Zeta Reticuli star system between the years 1965 and 1978. This is Release 24, dated June 20th, 2007, Area 51, Scientists Tell All of Alien Craft. Attention, scientists, physicists, and other assorted backyard scientific types. Learn from an actual insider the secrets of the alien propulsion system and why we can't crack and duplicate it. Learn what makes the ET craft go from point A to B with little fuel on hand, but which creates enormous amounts of energy. Understand why 2 + 2 = 5 in the rest of the cosmos except here on primitive planet Earth. Learn the proper place for our quantum physics and mechanics. In the latrine. This is a keeper. Moderator's notes and explanation. What follows is an exclusive interview between an Area 51 scientist and Linda Moulton-Howe conducted in April of 1995. To the best of Anonymous and the DIA-6's knowledge, the contents of this explosive interview have never been made public, perhaps due to the agreement Moulton-Howe entered into with the USG at the time of the interview. In a telephone call I placed to the residence of Moulton-Howe on Sunday morning, 6/17/07, I have confirmed with her that the following interview never appeared on her website, earthfiles.com. Regardless, Anonymous has now directed me to release an abstract of the 5-page interview which is reproduced below. As always, my own comments notes are offset by the use of brackets. Begin. This is raw intelligence material and dissemination to unauthorized personnel is prohibited. This attachment was not given a security classification. Interview with Dr. Greg McPherson, scientist and former employee of Area 51. Dr. McPherson worked at Area 51 from May 1956 until September 1988. This interview was made by Linda Howe during a meeting at the Las Vegas Hilton on April 8, 1995. Under a written agreement between Linda Howe and Dr. McPherson, the contents of the interview could not be made public. A U.S. government source recorded the interview. What follows is a summary of the information given by Dr. McPherson. Note: a background check of Dr. Craig H. McPherson was conducted. Dr. McPherson obtained a security clearance based on an expanded background investigation in August of 1956. The clearance was upgraded at various intervals until his retirement. Dr. McPherson was a Federal Civil Service employee from May 23, 1956 until October 1, 1988. Dr. McPherson retired at the Federal Civil Service grade of GS-16. Dr. McPherson was born on April 8, 1920 in Scranton, PA. Dr. McPherson served in the U.S. Army Infantry in Europe from June 1944 until October 1946. Dr. McPherson obtained the military rank of sergeant at the time of his discharge. Dr. McPherson attended Penn State University, the University of Pennsylvania, and MIT. Interview of Dr. Craig McPherson by Linda Howe on April 8, 1995. Location: Las Vegas, Nevada. Time frame: 12:24 hours to 17:13 hours. Dr. Craig McPherson begins speaking. I served in the U.S. Army from 1944 to 1946. After discharge, I attended college and eventually obtained a Ph.D. in physics. I worked for private industry from 1955 to 1956. In May 1956, I was hired by the U.S. Air Force as an applied physics specialist. My first assignment was at the Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada test facility. I worked at Indian Springs Air Force Base, Nevada for the first 7 months. My work pertained with the examination of foreign technology. The foreign technology consisted of Soviet and Chinese equipment. Most of the equipment was obtained from a friendly government. The equipment consisted of tanks, electronics equipment, weapon systems, and other related items. During this time frame, the Air Force built an underground facility at Groom Lake. The construction started in 1955 and ended sometime during the summer of 1959. I worked in the Foreign Technology Application Studies Division, FTASD. We had 3 different facilities, 2 of them at Groom Lake and 1 at Indian Springs. We later obtained a facility at Tonopah. Once the underground facility was ready, we moved in. This was sometime in the early 1960s. The facility was one of the biggest underground facilities ever built. We must have had over 1 billion square feet of space. In later years, the underground facility, codenamed Deep Space, was expanded to include 3 different levels. I was involved in the research and development of the SR-71. We had several different aircraft on the drawing board. The FTASD had more than 65 scientists, technicians, and military personnel assigned. Most of our work was very unique. We would obtain some information from the Foreign Technology Acquisition Group, FTAG. This group obtained information from foreign governments or from intelligence agencies. Along with the studies of the foreign equipment we had available at the facility, we could apply advanced scientific principles to further our own technology. We made terrific advancements during this time frame. During this period, I never saw a UFO or anything resembling a UFO at the Groom Lake Test Facility. I did not see any ETs, nor did I ever hear anyone mention that our government was reverse engineering an ET device. In the summer of 1969, I was transferred from the FTASD to the Advanced Studies Group, ASG. The ASG was a very secret group located at the second level of Area 51, Complex 3. When I first entered the facility, I had to obtain an additional security clearance. During my in-briefing of the ASG, I was informed that our group was working on advanced research principles involving non-conventional flying devices. I saw my first non-conventional device within a few days of being assigned to the ASG. The flying device was codenamed Atlas Tank, AT. It was a flying saucer. I worked on specific physics problems associated with this unique design. We had manufactured the AT over a period of 8 years. I was brought into the program during the latter part of the ground testing. We solved most of the unique problems, but we still could not get the AT to fly. Several different propulsion systems were used, but none of them worked. Sometime in 1973, I was given another security clearance. I was moved to another facility within Complex 3. This was a new facility. I was assigned to the ASG Alpha. Once in the facility, I was given access to another flying saucer. This appeared to be the same shape as the AT, however, it was codenamed Blue Chariot. Although I did not have access to the interior of the BC, I did observe the outer area of the flying craft. At no time was I told that either of these flying machines were ET related. I worked in the Alpha branch for several months before moving back to ASG. In 1973, a terrible accident occurred at the Complex 3 facility. The propulsion system on the BC was activated and an explosion occurred, killing 6 technicians. Actually, it was not an explosion. A bolt or plasma ball came out of the propulsion system and struck the technicians, vaporizing them. The BC was then taken to another facility which was located in a very remote area of Area 51. This area was adjacent to the old above-ground nuclear testing land. Scientists learned how the propulsion system worked. They could activate the system, which would generate an enormous amount of energy. The energy could be formed into balls of plasma or a steady stream of energy. The system could generate energy equivalent to a nuclear explosion from a range of 1 kT up to 350 kT. The strange thing about this energy system was the lack of radiation. The system could generate this enormous amount of power, but it would not leave any residual radiation. This puzzled scientists. When I retired in 1988, no one could understand the system. They could activate it, but could not understand how it worked. At no time was I ever told that the new propulsion system was given to us by ETs, nor was I ever told that ETs provided us with any technology. We assumed the new propulsion system was developed by the Soviets. Although no one told us that the new propulsion system and the BC were ET related, we figured that they were. We had our own private discussions about the technology. I could give you the technical details of the propulsion system, but that is still highly classified. I can say the system operates on some unknown principles. We tried quite unsuccessfully to apply our knowledge of physics, quantum theory, and other principles to this new system. In our science, there are two basic types of bond by which atoms form molecules, ionic and covalent bonds. An atom is normally electrically neutral. It has the same number of positively charged protons in its nucleus as it has negatively charged electrons in captive orbits. In this system, things are different. There is an unknown method by which the atoms are charged. Instead of ionic or covalent bonds, this new system creates a third type of bonding principle. This new type of bonding causes atoms to take on a different form. Atoms go from a normal state, and when I say normal, I mean normal in our science, to a multiplexed form. In other words, the atoms are doubled or piggybacked onto each other. The atoms are somewhat mutated but maintain their original shape. I know this is very difficult to understand. That is why we still don't understand it. I'll give you a simple example. If you can recall basic chemistry, you will remember that a hydrogen atom consists of a single proton, the nucleus, with one electron in a captive state. When two hydrogen atoms approach each other, their combined energy becomes lower if they share their electrons. Well, in this new system, a hydrogen atom subjected to this new system inside this propulsion system changes to a new principle. First, when two hydrogen atoms approach each other, their combined energy level becomes multiplied through this strange bonding principle. So, instead of having a lower energy level, the energy is multiplied by the number of atoms of hydrogen that is bonded. If we use the quantum idea to understand this, we would conclude that quantum principles do not work in this system. Normally, in our system, positively charged ions attract and bond to negatively charged ions to form molecules. This is not the case in this new system. It makes no difference whether the ions are positive or negative as they bond together regardless of valence. We do know that inside this propulsion system, something causes these strange unnatural phenomena to occur. Two plates of metal sit inside a chamber. This chamber is a vacuum. The chamber is a perfect vacuum. That is, there is no outside air or other gases inside this chamber. A tube running from one chamber into another pushes a gas inside. A third chamber forces still another gas to enter the first chamber. We know that the gases push against these two plates of metal and cause an enormous amount of energy to be created. Lastly, just before the gases are mixed, there is a form of light that is focused against the outgoing energy. This light is of a lower frequency. Normally, in our quantum theory, a small frequency means a lower energy. However, in this system, the lower frequency of light was measured to contain an enormous amount of energy exerted upon this outgoing energy. When I left in 1988, we could not understand how the gases were mixed, nor could we determine how the light was generated. You asked about the metals inside this vacuum container. Quite intriguing. First, the metal strips are located inside container number 1. They are setting perpendicular to each other at exactly 6.54 centimeters apart. Each metal strip measures 18.45 centimeters by 9.43 centimeters. Each metal strip is 3.46 centimeters wide. The sides of the strips facing each other contain a shiny metal coating. The opposite sides contain a dull coating. Looking at the metal strips from above, one will notice that another substance is sandwiched between the outer two substances. The materials in each of the metal strips have never been identified. We do know the density of the material strips and the hardness as measured by the mole scale. The density of the metal strips are 94.5 on the shiny side and 34.2 on the opposite side. I believe the density or specific gravity was measured by the conventional method in that the value is grams per centimeter cubed. Not being a metallurgist, I cannot make comments on these values, but what is interesting is that these two strips of metal are located inside a somewhat round vacuum container. The outer coating of this container is also shiny. You mentioned the gases. I am not a chemist. I know very little about the gases contained in containers number 2 and number 3. These gases are two distinct types. One is a gas-liquid type and the other is a solid gas. Don't ask me to explain these two. I don't believe that our chemical engineers could do that. I just know that once the device is activated, the two gases mix and create energy by some method. I don't want my name connected to a story about ETs. End. More to come, Anonymous. Moderator's notes. Covalent bond. A chemical bond formed when electrons are shared between two atoms. Usually, each atom contributes one electron to form a pair of electrons that are shared by both atoms. Ionic bond. A chemical bond formed between two ions with opposite charges. Ionic bonds form when one atom gives up one or more electrons to another atom. These bonds can form between a pair of atoms or between molecules and are the type of bonds found in salts. Ionic propulsion. Propulsion by the reactive thrust of high-speed beam of similarly charged ions ejected by an ion engine. Kiloton. The explosive force of 1,000 tons of TNT, a unit for measuring the power of thermonuclear weapons. Mole scale. Hardness is one of the chief ways used to recognize a mineral. It is a scale used to measure the relative hardness of a mineral by its resistance to scratching. In 1822, Friedrich Mohs, German-Austrian 1773 to 1839, created a hardness scale based on assigning numbers to common minerals. The concept is that a harder mineral, one with a higher number, can scratch a softer one. Other materials may be correlated to the scale. For example, steel used in a pocket knife is about 5.5 and glass is about 6. So glass can scratch steel, but a common pocket knife will not scratch glass. From softest to hardest, the 10 minerals of the mole scales are talc equal measuring 1 on the hardness scale, gypsum equals 2, calcite equals 3, fluorite equals 4, apatite equals 5, orthoclase feldspar equals 6, quartz equals 7, topaz equals 8, corundum equals 9, including ruby and sapphire, diamond equals 10, a mineral form of carbon that is extremely hard and transparent. It usually occurs as crystal shapes as octahedrons. Diamonds come from unusual structures similar to volcanoes called pipes. The diamonds are embedded in a mineral called kimberlite. Diamonds form at great depths under high pressure and temperature, then are carried to the surface in a kimberlite pipe. Because diamonds are hard and resist wear, they also survive passage from original locations into gravel deposits in rivers and on beaches. Metals, minerals, addendum. The mole scale is a relative hardness scale, minerals relative to each other. There are several more hardness scales. One scale is known as the absolute hardness scale. Talc equals 1, gypsum equals 2, calcite equals 9, fluorite equals 21, apatite equals 48, orthoclase equals 72, quartz equals 100, topaz equals 200, corundum equals 400, diamond equals 1500. For example, this scale indicates that corundum is twice as hard as topaz and diamond is almost 4 times as hard as corundum. It is unclear whether Dr. Craig McPherson was giving hardness numbers on the absolute scale, such as 94.5, while previously referring to the mole scale. Metals, such as a typical knife blade, can be above 50 on the absolute hardness scale, and hardened steel can be 100 or more. Source: the American Heritage Science Dictionary. Discover the Science Almanac, the definitive science resource. Late-breaking related development to Project Serpo, posting number 24. Enormous new hangar under construction at Area 51. Is ET moving in permanently? Come November 2009. Flash notice. Here is an item of interest for the public. Since our hard-earned tax dollars are involved and hopefully at work at the base for our visitor friends, the estimated size is 200 feet by 500 feet and 100 feet tall. After the Air Force took over in the late 1980s, the name Area 51 was officially changed to Air Force Flight Test Center Detachment 3, or AFFTC DET 3. This is still the official designation of the Groom Lake Base. And that is going to be it for this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll have more things like this. Take care.